and serve as a foundation for our planning for potential resolution under Title II if we have one of these situations like we had back in 2008 where we have financial distress and one of these entities is in danger of failing. Now, turning to Title II, while the statute makes clear that bankruptcy is the preferred option for addressing these large entities, Congress recognized that there may be situations where SIFIs may not be able to be resolved under the Bankruptcy Code. So Title II provides the FDIC with very broad backup authorities in order to place a SIFI into an FDIC receivership. This would occur if there's no viable private sector alternative or resolution through the bankruptcy process would have serious adverse effects on the U.S. financial system. The orderly liquidation authority provided to the FDIC under Title II gives us the necessary powers to resolve a failing SIFI in an orderly manner, and it's intended to do so in a way that imposes accountability on shareholders, creditors, management of the failed company, while mitigating systemic risk and imposing no cost on taxpayers. Now, in the 3 years since Dodd-Frank was enacted, the FDIC has concentrated its efforts on developing the capability to carry out a successful resolution under Title II. We've promulgated final rules addressing orderly liquidation authority, as well as addressing the enforcement of contracts of subsidiaries, our orderly liquidation fund, and the maximum obligation limitations under the statute. In order to invoke the Title II resolution authorities under Dodd-Frank, there are requirements that are pretty extraordinary. You have to have a 2/3 vote of the FDIC board, as well as the Federal Reserve, finding that the failure of this entity would cause a systemic risk to the entire U.S. financial system, and then a determination by the Secretary of Treasury after consultation with the President of the United States that this entity would cause systemic consequences to the U.S. There's also extraordinary legal proceedings involved in terms of if the determination is provided to the entity can consent. If the entity does not consent, the Act provides for immediate judicial review here in U.S. District Court in D.C. The court reviews the determination of the Secretary under an arbitrary and capricious standard. And if the court does not act within 24 hours, the action is deemed effective by operation of law. Once appointed, the FDIC has very broad authority to resolve the institution, very similar, in fact, almost identical to the superpowers that we've been using for the last 80 years to resolve failing financial institutions. And we've addressed over 490 in this crisis, including WAMU, which was the largest failure in the history of the United States. Those superpowers include the ability to establish a bridge financial institution, to stay litigation involving the covered company, to construct a claims process, administer claims, as well as to impose losses on shareholders in compliance with the statutory priority scheme that's set up under Dodd-Frank. Now, one option that we've been studying very carefully, and there's been a lot of discussion about, is the single point of entry approach. And in order to implement that, we would place the holding company of the failed institution into a FDIC receivership. And the FDIC would then organize a bridge financial company